We are live.
Yeah.
Showtime. Talking Central Park stories and oregano
Mhm.
weed.
Do not smoke oregano. I hear it's bad for you. I never tried. I
Ah,
do like Cuban cigars.
Cuban cigar. I've never smoked anything. Just the
Mm.
whole idea of lighting something on fire and breathing the smoke makes me go, what?
Mm.
Why would I ever do that? How did people invent that? I don't want to breathe
Yeah,
smoke.
yeah, but I've never smoked a cigarette, so I don't know how to inhale. But you don't inhale cigars, so
Okay.
the cigar for about 75% of its length, it's actually tasty.
Ah.
But it's the final quarter when you're still trying to smoke it because you don't want to throw it away because it'd be a waste. But you can feel that it's all bird tobacco now.
Don't want to waste it. I still got a
Yeah,
quarter of a cigar here.
exactly. Yeah, I mean those aren't cheap, you know.
No,
No,
especially good ones, right?
yeah. There was a time when I could actually, every once in a while, I would buy a cigar. I went through. I would get a lot of free cigars about 20 years ago, about 4 or 5 a year. But and occasionally I'd buy one. But cigars started going up in price like crazy. It wasn't even the Cuban stuff; it was the Dominican stuff.
Ah,
And of course, you don't want to buy American or European cigars because they're made with the lousiest tobacco that's left over.
the
I'm
tobacco
serious.
grown in the wrong climate.
Yeah.
Here,
But
here's a question that just came up in my mind this week because I was reading that issue of Alter Ego
mhm.
that I got a few weeks ago, and now I've got to highlight it so we can talk about it next week. The Secret History of Hillman. But in the back, as I got to the back, I noticed it had a little memorial mention of Jack Katz dying
Hmm.
back in last April. And I was like, I couldn't remember if we ever mentioned Jack Katz dying.
Oh, we did.
I'm sure we did, but how come I've completely forgotten that he died?
Well, well, as usual, we mentioned the First Kingdom and how hard it was to read it.
Yeah, but I also I wrote this blog piece years ago about, and I've told this story here, how I have John Romita's autographed copies of Jack Katz's First Kingdom that Jack Katz gave to John Romita. But I never wanted to publish it on my blog
Hmm.
uh, just because I didn't want to embarrass Jack Katz. I was like, Jack Katz is going to be dead soon. It took till 97 to die. So it's like, I've been waiting a while. I'm like, and I haven't posted it. I'm like, I have to post that now because I completely forgot. I completely forgot he died somehow.
Hmm.
Like, I'm like, we must have talked about this and mentioned it because it's something we'd mention. We've talked about
Yeah,
the First Kingdom and Jack Katz more than
yeah.
once on this show. I've even told that story before on this show.
Hmm. But I remember we did at the time because it was a
Yeah.
thing.
But I'm like, how do I not remember that? How do I not remember? I don't know.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, I was like, he died? Do I
Yeah.
know that?
Although
Strange.
although I kind of miss talking about it because we didn't come up, and I'm not sure you'd be familiar with it. I know that that Terrence reads the comic because he's discussed this with Larasa. But
Yeah.
it's a French comic called Aya,
Okay.
which is about a girl in the Ivory Coast, a
Mhm.
teenage girl, big young adult. She's go. It's kind of a soap opera, and the artist Clément Aubrerie died 2 weeks ago.
Ah.
Because I saw it in the Brazilian site Eurocomics. So it's not something that usually gets mentioned in the U.S. press, especially after the U.S. press no longer cares about comics.
Right.
Uh, but I know that that Terence Larassa talked about the comic and that they read it. So
What was
the
it?
U.S. version.
I don't think we mentioned that last week, I know I mentioned it to you on Facebook, that Marvel Comics artist who died last week, the week before, who was 48, who was European.
Yeah.
Do you remember who that was? What was his
Yeah,
name?
the Italian guy you mentioned. What was his name?
I already forgot, but he's been. They said he won the contest that CB Sobolski was back when CB Sobolski was the new talent coordinator at Marvel, i.e., he went around to foreign conventions looking for cheap artists.
Yeah. So he got to travel the world for free.
Yep.
with an expense account.
Yep.
Yeah, here it is.
And report directly to Ike.
Yeah, Jacopo Camagni.
Okay, and he died. I think they said of a heart operation that didn't go right or something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's no fun.
Yeah, I mentioned he did a Groucho story, and Groucho usually doesn't have his own comics because, for those who don't know, in the Italian comic Dylan Dog, his valet is Groucho Marx, literally.
Groucho.
Yeah, so I didn't know he had and I found out it's just one of the guys that I found out that he did a Groucho solo story. But it's Groucho in a mystery horror comic. It's not Groucho.
He also did an Image
he
comic that I can't think of the name of right now, but I remember seeing it, but I didn't read it.
Well, his website should still be up.
In 2017.
Is it up? Can't tell.
No Usagi Yojimbo Kaido 84 #1 this week. No. I mean, Usagi Yojimbo without Stan Sakai? I just wasn't particularly interested in it. There's a spin-off. I think that comes from the animated show that was supposed. Did they cancel the animated show? I don't remember. There's supposed to be an Usagi Yojimbo animated show, but it was going to take place not in ancient Japan, but in like the future or something. And it was his, great grandnephew or something. And I think that's what the comic is too. But Stan Sakai's got nothing to do with it. It's just, expanding the Usagi universe. So I was like, oh, I don't really care about Usagi. I care about Stan Sakai. Who doesn't? It looks great, and the story was a solid set. Yeah, I looked at it and thought it was okay, but I don't really have that much interest in Usagi without Sakai.
Well, it was probably his idea. I don't see anybody.
Oh yeah, he's probably involved in it, but
I don't see anybody.
I had 8 or 9 comics.
Well, we can wait for the trade.
Yeah, if it was a 4 or a 5 comic week, I may have picked it up.
Well, it kind of looks like. I mean, it kind of looks like a. It's not modern, but I wouldn't say punk, but punk version of Usagi Yojimbo. Leather jacket and everything.
And speaking of punk, one of the things I picked up this week was the facsimile edition of Love and Rockets #1. Let's show you that cover. Which looks very nice. I mean, to see Love and Rockets #1 in such minty condition. There's the classic Jaime Hernandez cover. In the back, we got Beto. But it was really interesting. I've read some of the stories. I don't think I've ever read any of the Gilbert Hernandez stories in this, but I read the Jaime ones in Locas. But it was interesting. First of all, reading the effusive introductory words by Gary Groth. That's right there. Oh, there's Wilson. Hello there, Wilson.
Hello.
Because he compares, he mostly compares this first issue. This is the Love and Rockets #1 facsimile.
Okay.
I think it came out in 81. originally. So it was interesting to once again pretend it's 1981 reading the first issue. But he compares it not to comic books, but to comic strips. He compares it to Little Nemo, Crazy Cat, Popeye, Sidney Smith's The Grumps, Gasoline Alley, Tut Hill's Bungle Family, Sterrett's Polly and Her Pals. And I could really see what he meant by that comparison. Because in this first issue, once again, it's Gilbert doing his stories and Jaime doing his stories. But like this is and this issue number 1 is nothing like what Love and Rockets became. Because the first story, only 5 pages of it really are. The first story is the mechanic story of Maggie and Hopi, but it was really only about Maggie, and she's like a rocket mechanic. She's a person who can fix anything. So it's about her going on this job with this guy Rand, who she has and a lot of the characters are there. Like Penny Century is in the story, but they're not. It's like they eventually became sort of everyday characters. Maybe not Gilbert stuff. They're more fantastic. But it started out as these fantastical characters and then turned into these sort of slice of life characters. But what really reminded me of those strips was they're all kind of out on wandering on journeys or whatever kind of thing, which you never read. Like, first of all, I don't think any of those comic strips influence in anything anymore. And like the first Maggie and Hopi story, she was just kind of out on this in this like desert landscape, out on a journey fixing things. And that's the first Maggie. And then the Gilbert one was the Gilbert one read more like, now Gilbert takes his characters and Fritz and makes like B movies that we're in. This reads like one of the B movies, because it's all sorts of crazy lunatic stuff going on. Matter of fact, it's a giant monster story. It's a kaiju story before we had the word kaiju. And Gilbert's story, and the main character, the main story of his, which is broken up over a few parts, is called Bem, B-E-M, Bug-Eyed Monster. And it was about this monster that was in prison that is now loose. And there's this giant monster killing things. And there's people trying. And Gary Groth even refers to it as a parody of monster movies. But I don't think it's a parody. I think Gilbert genuinely likes that stuff. And though it may seem like a parody, he likes it. He was writing that story because he likes that stuff. As we know from the rest of his career, he loves B movies. He takes to that stuff, despite the fact that there's humor in it and it's funny. It's serious to him. He really likes it. He's not parodying a kaiju story. He's telling a kaiju story. So it was really interesting to read that. And like I said, almost everybody in here was sort of out on adventures, which like never happens in comics anymore, kind of. And people just don't go out places and see what happens, which I think happened a lot in old, like it happened in Gasoline Alley. They'd go on vacations across the country. It would happen in, what was that other one I read? The Sunday strips of Buck Rogers that didn't star Buck Rogers. The two kids would just be out and have this long adventure. It happened that like in all this, not just the adventure strips, but any continuing strip. A lot of times the characters would just go out and like not make it home for months because they were out doing something. Like that kind of storytelling is gone in modern comics. No one just goes out on an adventure. There's a plot where there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the only thing that would give you an idea of what it was going to turn into was this first Locust story, which was about Maggie and Hopi as two punk rock girls, just kind of living their life. It was only 5 or 6 pages. But, they go to a show with a band. And this is what Love and Rockets will become on the Jaime part. And the Gilbert part, he'll still have these fantastical B-level, B-movie stories, but they'll be an aside, kind of. And it also made me realize that since this came out in 81, this may be one of the first things in sort of American culture to really deal with punk rock in sort of a positive way. I know in these sort of mid-'80s, in like 86, I knew a lot of people in college, like punk rock girls, who were into Love and Rockets because it was about punk rock girls. But it's kind of crazy to think, because now there's, punk rock, the look, has had so much influence on culture over the last, 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's rarely genuine. It's usually, a look that people are exploiting because it looks cool to make money. So this is like maybe one of the first things I can think of that genuinely, first of all, it was genuine punk rock too. It was just kids being kids, as opposed to, just a look or whatever. But I found it really, besides being good comics, it was a nice little time capsule back to 1981 in the beginning of their careers.
Mhm.
It was kind of wild to read. That's what a facsimile should do. Bring you back in time.
Right. Are there still science fiction elements in Love and Rockets?
No,
Or is it
there have not really been science fiction. Well, at least not in the Jaime stuff. The Beto stuff can go anywhere.
Right. Does it look like it's set in modern times now, or what?
Yeah. They've aged. They've aged normally. Maggie and Hopi are like 60. And what amazed me too, when I finally, like I said, I was late to Love and Rockets. And I probably didn't start picking it up till 86, 1986, whenever. So I missed like 5 years of Love and Rockets. And when I finally read, matter of fact, there's a new version of Locos all in one volume. When I finally read them all together, it shocked me how quickly Maggie and Hopi were broken up and how long it took them to get back together. Because I can remember in 1986, my friend Sue T, who was she read Love and Rockets and she was a punk rock girl. And she was mad that Maggie and Hopi weren't back together. And I don't even mean back together as a couple. They weren't a couple. I mean back together physically, hanging out. Because like early on, he sent one way and the other way, and it took like 8 years or something to get them back together. It was crazy till they saw each other again. So it was just weird because they really were the sort of heart and soul of, even more than Beto's stuff, which I love. The Jaime and the Maggie and Hopi were like the stars of Love and Rockets, but they were barely together. That's what amazed me about reading them finally. Like, whoa. Let's see. Don't forget to show us your eBay stuff, Jared. I will. You left us on a cliffhanger in your playlist video. Yeah. I kind of wish there was still Maggie going on sci-fi robot repair jobs. Yeah. Be fun if Love and Rockets just had a years late. Yeah, I mean, he obviously didn't want to do that. Missing Mars, gentlemen. But it's like completely different in that first issue than other stuff.
Yeah, this reminds me of a web comic I used to read. It's been over for a few years now. It was called The Mangled Stare, and it was the adventures of a Puerto Rican superhero. And then the guy who did it, Will Rodriguez, he had kids, and he wrote the kids into the strip, and it stopped being about doing superhero stuff. It was a humor. But
Yeah.
all the superhero elements were downplayed, and it was all about his home life with the wife and kids,
Mm.
and the frog that lived with them. Because there was a time when all of the web comics had to have a funny animal slash robot sidekick, and theirs a Puerto Rican dancing frog called Cocky.
Yeah, and it got me thinking too, because I've always thought that Jaime could have kept Maggie and Hopi like eternally young forever and be punk rockers forever. And I imagine it may have even been more popular if he did that. So it was kind of bold of him not to do that, to not treat them like, Spider-Man and Batman, and instead treat them like Gasoline Alley where everybody ages. And it also got me thinking about how brief a period it was and probably is for somebody to be a punk rocker. Because you got to figure if you're, and first of all, I've never been a punk rocker. I've never been into punk rock. It was a little bit before my time. Not that it doesn't still exist in places, but I would say, and most people who I knew who were into punk and into a punk scene, by the time I knew them, they were long out of the punk scene. Like if you're in a punk scene, it only lasts from maybe age, I'd say 16 at the youngest. And that's if you've got no parental oversight. So I'd say punk rock lasts from maybe you're 18 to an old punker would be 24. So it's such like a brief period in somebody's life that they're really into punk rock and being I never knew what punk rock really was either. I mean, it was just one of those things that escaped me because so many things are called punk rock and so many people want the sort of mystique and allure of punk rock. But other people who I knew were into punk were like, oh, posers, that's not punk rock, whatever. But the best description I ever heard of it was from a person who told me punk rock is just DIY. Do it yourself. You want to have a rock show, you put on a rock show. You want to play music, you play music. And I was like, oh, that's what made the most sense to me. That's what punk rock was these kids just putting on their own shows. So I found that an interesting piece of Love and Rockets, and its history with punk rock. And that's why a lot of people, like in 1986, I had a fellow student who was like writing the history of punk rock. I don't know if he ever did it. He was doing it for some school paper or something, and he used to tell me about it all the time. But like in 1986, I remember a lot of people telling me punk rock was dead. Because their punk rock was dead, because it only lasts from maybe 16 to maybe 24. And that's stretching it. Huh. This is morbid, but with going over so long, I wonder how they would decide to end the series if they tried to coincide with the endings with their own. Yeah, that could be it. Maggie and Hopi could end when they can't draw anymore. I just saw Mark Bagley is no longer drawing interiors. I saw some announcement on Facebook because people thought he was really sick. And he's like, no, I'm not really sick. Had a little health problem. Everything's cool. Nothing's wrong. But I'm just not drawing interiors anymore because I can't take the grind.
Yeah.
He's doing covers and commissions and stuff like that.
I didn't see
So
that headline, but makes sense. Yeah.
when they can't take the grind, I imagine they can make Jaime. Beto is more prolific, so I don't know how he's going to end it. Evening, peoples. Good evening, 62.
Hello.
I was looking at Love and Rockets Volume 2, Wonder Woman. Yeah, Maggie looked amazing. Yeah. Volume 2, I think we're up to Volume 4, if you were looking at that one. Volume 2 was the comic book sized one. So Volume 1 was magazine sized. Volume 2 was comic book sized. Volume 3 were these little trade paperbacks. And Volume 4 were back to magazine size. Punk was the total opposite of disco with worse dancing. For a better or worse, comic strip was kind of unique for having all of its cast age naturally. Yeah, they even had Popular Family, Dog Farley. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Gasoline Alley did the same thing. I think they finally had Walt die in like the late 90s or the early 2000s. He finally died over. Hello there, wonderful people of YouTube. The comic book size, 2001. Okay, yeah, that is volume 2 then. Ranger Sly, hello. Or Ranger Sly, as I call him.
Ranger Sly doesn't usually show up to watch us, so
yeah,
and I haven't seen him in a while, actually.
Yeah, I haven't either. Good. Oh, and also, Luba appeared in the Beto story because, like I said, the Beto story was this crazy kaiju story. And if you remember a couple of years ago when I finally read the Luba collected edition, which is hundreds of pages, it was 3 volumes. And I was like, it was as much. Luba has 2 sisters who I can't remember their names now because they're not in the title of the book. But the volume was as much about the 2 sisters as it was about Luba. And I remember commenting saying they could have called this book the 3 sisters' names because I'm like, Luba must have just shown up first. That's why she got them book named after her, because the book was really, they switched between the 3 sisters all the time. But sure enough, Luba shows up as sort of the villain in this piece. That's also why it reminds me of it really reads like one of the B movies that he's made later on, because Luba wasn't, she was just a person who lived, the mother of Fritz, and who lived in Palomar, so it's like she wasn't really a supervillain. But good stuff. Did you make it to the comic shop today, Wilson?
I did not.
Ah.
I did not make it to the shop. At just a bunch of little things that needs to be done. It was like, if I can get this done today, I get the whole weekend to myself. I don't have to worry about, did I get these pages done? I try not to work on the weekend?
Yep. You can't always.
You can't always. So
especially when sometimes I'm like, I don't want to face this Monday morning.
Yeah.
I can take an hour and do it Saturday afternoon and not have to worry about it.
Exactly. So it's like I have a few more. Too. I have a few more things to do, but they'll be done tonight after the show. And it's like, because again, I got an early start on some projects, and it's like, well, I know they're going to ask for this because I've been working on this project, a graphic novel, long enough to know there's 3 chapters. What they asked for in chapter 1, what they asked for in chapter 2 is like they're going to ask for these same things in chapter 3. Let me get started on that. Formatting issues, M dashes looking more like M dashes because the fonts I use, they look like regular dashes. So it's like, okay, I have to make it just a little longer so this is not a regular dash kind of a thing. Little things like that, for lettering and what have you. And it's like, okay, and there's a formatting how they want their the ellipses. Instead of just being dot dot dot, it's space dot space dot space dot. And again, it's just only this book does it. So it's like, all right, I'm following what they want. So anticipating what they're going to want, I went in to do that already. So now that I got those corrections, it's like, okay, I did that already. Bam, bam, bam. Once in a while, it's like, oh, I didn't catch that. All right, good. They sent it. And then just little changes here and there. And what's funny is like a while ago, I knew the proof marks that no one really uses anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm getting them. And it's like, which one is this? And it's like, I don't remember this one. And it's the initials for Let It Stand, but it's in its original Latin.
Right.
So it's like, what does this mean? So I'm looking it up online. It's like, oh, It's just let it stand. All right. So I did not have to do a single thing, but it took me 10 minutes to figure out I didn't have to do anything. So
Right.
little
I
things
forget
like
what I
that.
remember seeing that too. I forget what that word is.
I forget what it is, and I have luckily years ago, like 20 years ago, I had printed out the proof marks document because I don't
I
have
just
it
look it up.
memorized. Yeah, so it was like I had printed it out because I did have a set of editors that used it constantly. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this
For
is
those
something
who
new
don't
for me.
know, there's official proofreader like marks and codes where if you're making lettering corrections and someone uses the official proofreader, not everybody does, just old time proofreaders who know the system. And
Hmm.
sometimes you're like, what does that mean?
Yep.
Because I'm not
You
an
know,
old time proofreader who knows the system. I got to look it up.
exactly, and I never learned it, and when I started
Yeah.
lettering, I wasn't told about it.
No,
You
you
know,
just
it's
got
like
to go. What does that mean? I got to go look that up.
yeah, exactly. And then some of them are easy to look up, and then other ones were they're marks. How do I type
Yeah.
out the mark? So that
What's
became
that?
something. Yeah,
Look up
that's
proofreader marks. That's what you have to look up.
that's exactly what it is. So my document is called Proofreader's Mark, and I
Yeah.
found it. I printed up, and I just taped it onto the wall of
Ah,
my desk.
but you
My
haven't
desk
needed
is
it
like
in
a
ages.
cubicle thing. Then I just pasted on there, and used it for about a year, and then no editors used it for so long. And then now I'm getting them, and it's like, oh, I gotta look that one up.
Captain Finity says, OMFG, I am using a typeface where the end dashes are too short. I can totally relate.
Well, if you switch to LibreOffice instead of Microsoft Office, you can actually have a shortcut to type the long end dashes, so they will
That
never.
No, it depends
that
on the
doesn't
font.
translate. That
Yeah,
doesn't translate.
that's not the program. That's the fontographer.
Mm,
Because
Right.
sometimes you'll pick a font that's mostly a display font and it doesn't have all the
uh-huh.
accoutrements in it. You
And
you
and
you go
some
to
of them
hit
are
your accent over the E and it doesn't exist. You're like, "What?" Because
Yeah.
whoever
I've,
yeah,
whoever
especially in
made that
comic
font.
books.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things that you can get away with. For a long time, there would be like maybe I'll use one font that's called CC Wild Word International because it's the only one that would have the Spanish accents on there easily accessible. Other
There
ones
was
don't do
one
that. They've been doing it more recently with the comic craft stuff, but again, it's one of those things where you look at the M dashes, and again, it's like it's so subtle. My eye could pick it up. Not everyone else's because they're not staring at the same fonts all the time.
right.
So I could see where the difference in the M dash, and there's not really much. So it's like I got to do instead of it being at 100%, I think I may have to do it at 110% just to make it wide enough to know that this looks something different. And not that anyone
My
else is reading it while they're, that's wrong unless they're an editor
right. When I was
that has
working for
been
Bad
taught.
Idea,
Mhm.
when I was working for Bad Idea, their main credits page had a font that didn't have accents in it. And they were
Yep.
working with more than one Spanish person. So every time I had to put an accent over the E, I had to draw it in. So finally, like 6 months in, I went, "I can't take this anymore. I think this is" and the reason it didn't have accents because it was a knockoff of another font.
Ugh.
I'm like, I'm going and getting the other because the other font was like some official Adobe font. I'm like, I'm going and getting the other font and changing all the master pages because it looked nearly the same, but it had
Yeah.
all the accents and stuff in it. I'm like, I'm not drawing because what would happen was I would be setting up the credits page with a list of people. I have to draw the accent in over the E. So now it's separate from the type. And then they're like, "Ooh, we need this other person's name in there. Ooh, we need to take this person's name out." And sometimes I'd forget to move the accent, and there'd be an accent over some other random letter. And they're like, "What's this accent doing?" I'm like, freaking font. Why did you pick this font? I'm like, then I was like, you know what? No one cares. No one cares if I change this font to the one that it knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'll be working on another project that will have Spanish words in them. And I'm using the font that they recommended, that the company said you have to use this font because the licensor says you have to use this font, this size. And the accents would be there. Then occasionally I'll get an editor going, can you raise that accent just a little higher? I said, no. It's part of the font. I can't raise it any higher. I can't change the angle. It's what was created. I can't manipulate that. I can, but I can't. Because in order to manipulate it, I would have to break it so it's no longer something that you can edit. And
it
then
would no longer be a font. It would be type.
It would be type that's there. And if someone in production moves anything, that's not going to carry with it, because you got to remember to group it together and hope that everything stays together. But once in a while, they like to move this way or move it that way or move it up or down. It's like, we don't have to send it to. Yeah, like we don't have to send it to the letterer. It's like, we'll just fix it here. It's like, you're not fixing anything. And so eventually it was like, can you change this? No. You got to either another font or this, because I don't even suggest I could do this and you'll get what you want, but that's going to cause problems eventually.
No, that'll mess things up.
Yep.
And see, Lefty mentions that Fantagraphics just put out Locus, the Maggie and Hopi stories, and collects all book in one book. So I don't know how that, because I've got it in 2 volumes. The one I have, the Maggie and Hopi stories, Locus 1 and 2, is out of print now. Which is why they came out with the 1-volume one, and it's magazine size, which is nice. It's because it's the size of the original magazines. But I got it like 12, 15 years ago, and it's out of print now. So they just put out in this new volume, which I think is hardcover. But I don't know how. I would want to see what the binding on it is and how big it is. I don't know if it's magazine size or the smaller size, or what's that? One 720 page book is, but it's only $50. So that's not bad for 720 pages. Captain's early start. Oh, because the clock sprang forward, but you don't care. No, this is the clock sprang forward, and we are now at 6:37. This is the official time. So we're on Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, Europe only joins Daylight Savings Time in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope
they're trying to stop it, but they can't decide.
It was supposed
or backward.
It was supposed to stop this year, but the European Union never ratified it. So we have no year when we're supposed to get rid of Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, they're talking about taking it away here too, but it would take an act of Congress to take it away. So,
and they would have to agree what the time is going to be.
Yeah, so
and they
not
can't
happening.
decide. So
no,
So
Captain Finn, and I refuse to type 3 dots for an ellipsis. It's all.
Yep.
Or click and hold and get the ellipsis as one character. Pina colada, not pina colada.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Vietnamese diacritics? You've seen Czech diacritics where they have accents on the consonants.
No.
Now the Vietnamese can have accents on top of the accents. Diacritic.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because the before Vietnam was colonized by the French, Vietnamese people had very low literacy rates compared to China or Siam, and it was the French who figured out a way to do all the characters using the Latin alphabet. But because they have a bunch of tonal pronunciations of the vowels. They have diacritics. They have letters with diacritics below the letter, on top of the letter, and the with both on top of the and the bottom, and some with the diacritic on top of the diacritic. That's an actual mess.
Wow.
Not like we do with Latin languages. Here's something stupid that used to happen in Italy. Yeah. In Italy,
accents
even
everywhere.
Italy doesn't have that many accents compared to French, but they did have accents. The thing is, typewriters in Italy did not have accents, so they used to have an apostrophe to represent the represent the accents on typed materials, and they only got rid of it in the 1990s.
Huh. Oh, he gives us the size of it. Size is 8 by 8 by 11.3. It appears to be bound, but doesn't have the eye. Stays flat. The pages are easy to see, so no page loss in the middle. Oh, that's good. Let me see. How big is this original? I've got a grid on my. This is 8.5. So it's magazine size then. 8.5 by 11. So, yeah. That would be the overhang on the hardcover. That's a good magazine size. I might that's something, since I already have the 2-volume set, I wouldn't buy that. But if it gets cheap enough, I just might buy it on a lark kind of thing. I want to see how this one looks and give it away someday to someone because it's good.
Right now, something magazine size that I wanted to have but I can't afford is it's the Savage Tales collected edition from Fantagraphics, where they reprint the 1980s version of Savage Tales from Marvel. Everything in it, black and white. But can't afford it. Right now I can't.
That reminds me, I'll show you the two things. These, I finally spent my credit card money. I've been talking about and got the books. This is, I continue my Corbin collection. This is Rolf, the hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops. And these are all nicely done. Dark Horse is doing a terrific job on them. I don't know this story. I don't think I have this one. But the 2 volumes I got, this is Werewolf Stories, it says. And I think this is the last thing he did, Dimwood. And I think it was, I think his daughter scripted the last chapter. I think he was in the middle of this when he died. So I finally got these. I think this puts my, what do I have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this puts me at 8 volumes of Corbin. I've only read one of them so far. And then I also picked up from the same credit card points thing, The Night Eaters, Book 3. This is Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I just read the 2nd volume recently. This is the one that's kind of about normal people, a normal couple of kids and their weird parents. And the kids find out they're really some kind of magical creatures, sometimes called demons. And the 1st volume was all about them finding out. The 2nd volume was of them trying to figure out what their lives mean. And I don't know what the 3rd volume is going to be. But these were the 3 that I got with my credit card points. I think they were about between $20 and $25 a piece. That's what I noticed. These Chaikin ones are $40 retail price. But if you wait 6 months, you can get them on Amazon for, I think one was $22 and the other was $25. But I was like, oh, I better get them now, because I know that 4 years from now they're going to be $80 because they'll be out of print. Right. So I was like, you gotta get them in that spot where they're discounted, but you can't wait so long as they're out of print, and in the secondary market they're a lot of money. I don't think the Night Eaters will ever be a lot of money. I don't think they're as popular as Chaykin, but it's good stuff.
Now that you're talking about it, that's what's going to raise it.
Good stuff. That's two of the things I got, or three of the things I got from Amazon. And I've read a couple of things this week, old things. I continue with my reread of the first Eclipse magazine and now Eclipse Monthly. And I got to say, I think I liked the magazine better only because it was different. Only because it seemed like some of the same stories continue here. So it's not really better in the sense that the stories were better. It's better in the sense that it seemed they were really trying. They were really trying. They really wanted to make something special. They were just starting out publishing. Here's our magazine. How cool. And now it's a comic and they know how to publish comics and it's a fine comic. Nothing wrong with it. Because we get continuations of the stuff. We get, I'll show you, more B.C. Boyer, the Masked Man, which soon gets, this is just about a guy who goes out and fights crime. We get the original Static by Steve Ditko. Some nice Steve Ditko, too. I'll talk about this one in a minute. We get some more Captain Quick and a Foozle. And this story is more coherent than I remember it. I think it was when it got his own issue, it became incoherent. We've got what it says is the second to last part of Sax Rohmer's Dope by Trina Robbins. And we get another beautiful Rio story. Like, this has to be in color. So I don't even want to say it's in no way worse than Eclipse magazine. It's just sort of less nostalgic somehow. But I think there was 9 issues of this. I'll read one a week just for the heck of it.
Is it also less pages than the magazine?
Not in the beginning. I think this is 48 pages, so it's about the same. I think it gets cut down by the end.
So maybe just a format issue?
Yeah, it's just a format. I think it's just a format. It's just I'm so used to comics.
Yeah, in America, the anthology seems to be more appropriate for a magazine format.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Yeah, it is hard. It has been very hard to sell an anthology comic book, and yet it seems to work very well in the Kickstarter market because Diamond never wanted anthologies. Yeah. Anytime you would submit an anthology, they basically kept saying, this is not going to sell. Don't bring that to us. And that was one of the interesting things that had popped up, learning over the years of watching crowdfundings and kickstarting, that anthologies do work for the right distribution network. And it seems the distribution for anthologies seems to work, or at least for a long time, seemed to work very well in that particular format. And then, as you mentioned before, magazines work so well with anthologies. You know, I remember buying science fiction magazines, even the small ones.
Right.
I forget the name of the main one that I would get all the time, but those were always anthology stories.
Right.
And I enjoyed it because of that.
I think they might work with Kickstarter too, because you have more people involved promoting it.
Yes, because now you have 10 people working on a story. Those 10 people are advertising it to a larger group of people. Yeah.
Right. I think that's why it might work well on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
As opposed to, just one person promoting it because it's their own thing. When you get 10 people, it's like, hey.
Exactly. You have a larger audience to pull from.
Oh, look at that. 62 pre-ordered his Locust and got it signed with a book, signed book plate with it. That's always cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Tit Goblin. I've started replacing the D in my name with the dolphin. I'll blame it on the typewriter when people ask. Another Love and Rocket collection. Bye. Yep. It's good stuff. The next Corbin coming out is The Last Voyage of Sinbad. Yeah, I think there's still one more I need that I didn't get. I can't remember what it was, but there's still one more that hasn't lowered to that $25 threshold yet. I ordered through my LCS and they gave me a 20% discount off of hardcovers. And yeah, LCSs know they're competing with Amazon, so they'll often give a discount. Mine will too. Somebody say Jakin? I don't know. Did someone say Jakin?
I think his name did pop up on one of the reviews. So even though it's not comic book related, it's toy related. But speaking of the points that you mentioned before, I had done the same thing where I paid more attention to what I buy, and then I used the Capital One extension.
Right.
So most of the time on everything I buy, I get a penny back. Here, I get 10 cents back there.
Right.
But more recently, because of the recent holidays, I made it a point to get a bunch of stuff on my card. The more expensive stuff was to get it on there so I could, raise the point. Because usually once a year, I remember, oh, yeah, I had gathered these points. What can I get? It's like $20 or what have the cash backs and stuff like that. But this year, I really paid attention, especially the holidays, to try to buy everything through the app. I was going to buy that item anyway, try to get points. So I was recently on eBay looking at what's my next collection thing to try to put together. And it was going to be a Star Wars project. And I was like, I would like to get and maybe build, if I can't buy the whole thing in one shot, is the Dagobah set from the Kenner line for Empire Strikes Back. And I end up liking a few of them that weren't complete. It's like, oh, I'll have to build it from this one, but I want to pay as little as possible. And I found one for about $20, not including shipping and tax. It was like, oh, at the moment this is $20. So I clicked it. I liked it because sometimes, and here, whenever you click something you like on eBay, you may get from either eBay or the seller directly themselves, hey, $5 off or whatever.
Your discount is in.
And it's like, okay, that's cool. On this Capital One that I have, they emailed me and said, hey, if you buy this, you'll get $10 cash back. And it's like, all right, I paid 20, I get 10 back. That means I would buy this, not the set. I would buy at least the base itself for $10. It's like, I could work with that because I'll take my time to get the other parts. And it was like, all right, cool. It takes a little while to get that cash back. And like I said, I just let it sit on there. So it's like, all right, cool. I'll order that. And then let me take a look at what pieces that I need and eventually start searching those out. Maybe make a list or what have you. And so one of the things that I found was the playset's instruction on it. So it's like, okay, let me find this and order that. And I went ahead and went, okay, how much cash back have I gathered since the last time I used it, which I think was probably, like I said, about a year ago or something. And it was like $20 and I bought an action figure. So I was like, all right, let me see how much I've gained. And I go looking at it, and to my surprise, it's a good amount of money. It's to almost close to like $115. I was like, oh, that's a great amount of money that I could really, really shop and start gathering the pieces together. And so I started looking. I still looked at the price because I still want to get a bargain.
Oh yeah, you don't want to.
You don't want
to real money to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, all right, let me go back and forth. Let me see. Let me start doing math. let me check eBay, let me check Mercari and all that stuff. And so one of the things that I found, the first thing that I found, and I got first, even though I paid for that playset piece first, what I got first is the Dagobah playset assembly instructions. Put on this light. And so this is what it looks like. So pretty much every action figure playset that comes from Kenner has this instruction manual type thing in it.
So you want to collect the instruction manual along with the toy?
Yeah, I want to get whatever I can get that came with the toy. And I really like these.
Okay.
Sometimes I even thought of just buying these without even getting the playset because I just like this type of ephemera because, things are illustrated most of the time. Is artwork only made for the particular playset? The artwork does also appear on the outside of the box. Yoda was colored in by some kid. So that was colored. It looks like crayon.
I love stuff like that, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I like comics that are drawn on.
Yeah. So it's like these kinds of things are pretty cool. Now, if this set had stickers, this would also tell you how to put on the stickers.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things like I want to get this because it also gives me a better idea of what the names of the items are. And then when I do a search for them, I could know like what pieces I'm looking for. Like here are cargo boxes. So that would be the official name of these items that I would need to look for because it came with some of these accessories. It also tells you how to put it together.
Yep.
So this is one of those things where it's like I would like to make sure I have it. And I don't mind that it has some crayon on it because again, chances are I probably would have colored it myself. If I had gotten this set as a kid.
And it fits right into a magazine bag and board.
Yeah, and they sent it in this magazine. I mean, in this bag and board magazine thing. So it was like it nicely came in, and it was like, all right, I now have something I could, look back and go, okay, I have this piece, I have that piece, I know what I'm missing. And the funny thing is that, of course, the accessory stuff is always the ones that are going to be overpriced, hard to find. The playset itself, as you saw, as I mentioned, I got it for $10, $20 once I get the rebate, it becomes $10. So I've been looking at the other things to find, and I was able to find almost everything that I would need. Now, something like getting the box is neat, but it's not a big necessity for me. I know some collectors, they want everything as mint as possible, and they want the stuff that came mint in box or, all the pieces in there. I don't mind searching these things, finding the pieces, even better yet, not paying full price. So to me, it's like that's part of the game that makes it fun for me. There are certain things that I don't mind a reproduction of. Like the weapons for these Star Wars characters are really expensive. And I just, to me, I don't care. I would rather have the original. But if I have to get a replica, I'll get it. But that's kind of, does it really need a replica? Does it really need that piece? Because like some characters will come with like a cool thing, like my Empire Strikes Back Luke Skywalker, which I don't see up there, is missing his cape. And it's like, yeah, he had it in the movie, that was cool, but that was the second thing I ever lost on him. The first thing I lost was his gun, the cape, and then the lightsaber. And the gun was, I think, day one. So it's just what happened. So it's like, for me, I'd rather have the character. And Luke Skywalker, yeah, he should have a gun, but you know what? I'm fine with a lightsaber. I'm fine with making a lightsaber because I used to make them out of whatever plastic that I found once I lost the lightsaber. If it's the right color, it's the right color. I even used these rivet nails because it looked like it had a handle, and so now it's a silver lightsaber instead of whatever color. As a kid, you didn't really care. So, for me, it's like if I didn't have it, I didn't have it. And again, chances are I would have lost it. So, as long as I have most of the figure there, I'm happy with that. You have other collectors, it's like it has to be as mint in box as possible, or if it's out, it just has to be complete. And I get it. That's how some people are with their collection. And if they could afford to do that, more power to them. Me, I want to be as cheap as possible and get this as low as prices. So I've been putting
Wilson, are you watching Froggy Flips? Says 62 Lefty
Froggy
Blues.
Flips.
I've never heard of Froggy Flips.
I don't know. There's been plenty, because sometimes I'll do a search for something and then end up watching someone's channel and then it gets put onto my feed. Most of the people that I've watched with the Star Wars stuff is mainly Retro Blasting and Toy Polloi, because they also show how to fix toys, how to make parts for them. And I have a lot of fun doing that, like fixing toys, buying something at a pretty inexpensive price, and then trying to fix it myself. Same thing that I did with with Darth Vader. I found him at Midtown Comics for like $19, but he didn't have his lightsaber. So what I did is like I made one out of sprues. And sprues, if people don't know that what those are, is when you buy a model kit and they're like the thing that holds the model pieces together, and you usually just
the plastic molding around the model that you break it off from.
When I was younger and doing models, they were called trees. Now they're called sprues. Sprues might have always been the original name, but again, it's like, so I have these extra sprues because my brother makes Gundam kits, or blockies is the new fun little toy that people have been buying. So he bought these blockies, and the blockies had these sprues that basically the right color for Darth Vader. So I'm able to it's the right size to stick into the Hulk. And, for me, it's like, this just looks really cool for display. It's kind of what it looked like. Not exactly, because it's not the telescoping one, but again, it's one of those that this is fun to have. And then I was not only able to make it with like this regular red one, but the sprues also had these transparent color ones. So I made this one where you could kind of see through it because it is transparent. And it's like now it's just trying to find the right color, because even though Ben Kenobi's was blue, so far I just have a yellow one for him. And then these are like, they take 10 minutes to make. And again, it keeps the price low from trying to find an original one. And again, like I said,
it's only recently, I don't know, last 5-10 years, I don't even know, that I learned that the colors of the lightsabers meant something to people. I was like, I just never thought about it before. And they're like, oh no, he gets his red lightsaber instead of his blue one, and this letter, and Luke lost his yellow. And I'm like, what? They're not all just lightsabers?
They were until they weren't.
Yep.
It was like
at some point they began to mean something.
They end up meaning something, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, that's cool. That's a nice little tidbit that was added later.
Yeah.
But originally the colors of the sabers was that red is bad, green or blue is good, but then it's like, oh, you can't do the blue one against the special effects of a blue sky. We're going to have to change that color. That's how it became green. So, and again, the lore just gets on top of each other. Of each other.
It's built on.
Exactly. So, Froggy Flips. I'll write his name down to check him out.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to get more
Froggy
people.
Flips.
I also watched this guy called the Padawan Learner or something like that. There's this guy who had decided, hey, I'm going to collect every Star Wars action figure out of the box, but he wants them complete. And then he made rules for himself. They got to be
You
complete.
got to
They
make
have to be.
rules.
You have to make rules, because if you don't make rules and write it down, it's no longer a science experiment.
It's not.
So,
Yeah.
so you make rules for yourself. And the great thing about making rules for yourself is where you're going to want to break it. Where it's like,
There
yeah,
are
I would
rules. You're just some nut job buying kids'
find
toys.
exactly. So if you have rules, you're a collector. And again, it's like you make up your own rules as you go, because that's the fun of it. I like the
Yep.
building of it. And again, it's like, yes, I can afford to buy it mint in box and just be done with it. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to spend that kind of money.
No.
I
I want to
for
open
me,
it.
I want to open it. I want to play with it. It's like, to this day, I still need those 3 Secret Wars characters that only appeared in like Spain and Europe and maybe South America. But it's like, I'm not paying $800 for Iceman to not be in the box, And it's like the most I spent on any of the Secret Wars toys is maybe $100, and that was mint in the box.
Right.
But there's still a few. It's like I I can't see paying that money at the moment, So the same thing is why I'm getting the pieces. And then the cool thing about getting the pieces too is like it's fun. I can make some TikTok videos out of it. I should probably do some
Yep.
YouTube videos out of it as well. But again, it's one of those things like, okay, this is a fun little thing to do on the side. And then every time the mail comes in and I get that piece, I can put it together. So far from everything that I've learned, I'm not going to be able to find is the foam, which is to represent the swamp, and R2 like dips into the foam to disappear. That is
You mean the toy came with a foam swamp?
so yes. So
Let's
in
see.
this part of it, as you can see here, around it
Uh-huh.
it's all plastic, but here is a piece of foam, brown foam that has like an X cut in it, and the toy can fall through.
Ah, I see. You're
Right.
gonna have to
So
make that yourself.
yes, because you're not going to be able to find it. If you buy a mint in box one, the foam will be in a little baggie, and in the little baggie is remnants of what was once foam.
Because foam
Time
doesn't last that long.
foam does not last that long, so that I would have to make for myself. Then the other things that you will have are pieces that are like the lever. As I mentioned before, these cargo boxes are not hard to find, but can be a bit expensive. The true expensive piece of this collection is that little plug there. So that's to levitate R2. You put this plug into the crevice of R2, and that
Ah.
goes onto this little stick. And then when you press down on the button of this fake boulder thing, it raises it up so it looks like it's floating. That piece seems to be the $80 piece. A little
Get
cap size item that fits into the crevice of R2D2.
get a 3D print of it.
Yeah, for $4, you could get a 3D print
Right.
of it. So then that's where the collector in me fights with the poor collector in me. It's like, we don't need that part. But that's the final part. Sometimes you can find them. That's usually, again, being one of the first things that get lost, because this is made for kids. They'll stick it into an R2D2 unit and never look at it again. And if that
Right.
piece falls out, parents aren't going to know what the heck that was. So that is that piece that is seems like it's incredibly hard to find. And so, that ends up being the most expensive thing. So in my mind, my rules are, maybe I just won't use it. Maybe I'll 3D print it. But to me, it's not really needed, because if I have the both of those canisters, that could go onto the display, and R2 goes into the swamp piece. And that's it. It's not too big a deal for me. I do watch Pixel Dan, Goblin.
Pixel Dan is a great channel and a good guy. Same with Secret Galaxy. Okay.
Secret Galaxy is a wonderful one to watch because it gives you enough information about the history of a product. So if, let's say, we were talking about Thundercats, he does talk about, where did Thundercats come from, the story for the cartoon, where the cartoon was made, what was the stuff that was created, because back in the 80s, for a cartoon to be successful, it had to have a toy line, a comic book, and the cartoon. All three of them were the magic to keep these things going because one supplemented the other and kept going. Because we all know all the cartoons in the 80s were just long commercials for the toys.
But you weren't allowed to show a commercial for the toy.
Exactly.
But you could show a commercial for the comic book.
Exactly. Continue the adventures in Marvel Comics.
Back when we were a civilization, before they took all the rules away.
Yes. So I end up watching those types of YouTube shows because then you get a history of what it is. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that they might have made toys for this particular line. I may go looking for it. Or I see toys and go, those are hideous, and stuff like that.
Captain Finity says, I have a 12-inch Mr. Orange. I don't know who that is. And the top of his pistol is missing. I do still have his tiny pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes, though.
I saw something really cool today because it's a Lego set of Tintin on the Moon.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
is it an official Lego set or one people put together themselves?
No, it's an official Lego set. You can buy it from the Lego website. In US dollars, it's probably around $175, $180.
Wow. There are people who just deal in out of print Lego sets.
Yeah.
In December, they buy 10 whatever Lego sets and then sit on them for 6 months and sell them for 4 times the price. It's crazy.
The sets are retiring, and people go nuts for them. And my sister is a collector of Harry Potter Lego stuff.
Here you go. Let me...
Tintin on the Moon.
Yeah. Nice. It's the guy assembling it. You can see all the detail inside the rocket.
Right.
Here's the capsule. Here's the characters, and it's really cool because they even did a Snowy, and so there's Tintin, Snowy, Captain Haddock, Professor Calculus, and then Thompson and Thompson have green hair because they get some sort of space. They stow away on the rocket, and they get some sort of space sickness, so that there's their hair green. Yeah, they have it in the Lego set. Here's Captain Haddock. See, the figures are kind of big for the capsule, but they really do look cool.
Nice.
Here's Tintin. No, can you see the detail for the hair detail? Because
I see the point on the front.
Yeah, and that's how it looks.
It looks good on the show.
Yeah, definitely looks good.
Yeah, I saw that today, and I thought it was really cool.
Oh, that was Mr. Orange from Reservoir Dogs. I thought it might be, but I couldn't believe there's a 12-inch figure of him. It sure is covered in blood and everything.
Nice.
And Ranger Sly says excessive marketing of cartoons is what killed Saturday mornings on TV.
I disagree.
Say
that. I think cartoons on Saturday mornings got destroyed because of cable television.
Yeah, I don't know.
You had a channel dedicated to
Cartoon Network
cartoons that way, so kids didn't have to go, deciding what cartoons to watch.
There was no special time on TV for cartoons anymore.
Yeah.
You could, especially with on-demand stuff,
and on demand, so it's completely different. So it's completely different marketing.
There's no appointment like TV.
Yeah. So,
although by the time
that is part of that.
By the time we got to the 90s, it was getting kind of ridiculous because they did cartoons of everything that was that it was non-PG movie. There's a Rambo cartoon. There was a Police Academy cartoon. There was
don't make a cartoon out of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some more.
Capitalism at its best.
I got some more Firefly comics this week
Oh,
because the big Firefly announcement is coming up Sunday, the 15th.
I believe
I
it's
figured
Sunday.
I may as well pull the trigger on these that I've been looking at for a month, but I didn't want to buy them. What was that?
Yeah, it's like get them now because whatever the announcement's going to be, either another show, an animated series, they already announced the Funko Pops. Everyone thought it was that, and there's now hints that it's not going to be that. So
Yeah, because they were out in July, I think, the Funko Pops. But it was like, and I got most of them. Like this whole batch is from who I bought the big batch from in January, which is like one comic shop in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And once again, I think it was $66 shipped and taxed for 32 comics. So that comes to like $2.07 a comic. And I would not be collecting them if they weren't $2.07 a comic.
Exactly.
Speaking of cheap. Still waiting for the Saturday morning cartoon of Howard Chaykin's Black Kiss, says Captain Infinity.
Well, HBO could have made one.
Yeah.
Remember when HBO did a Spawn cartoon?
They did. I watched an episode of it, and that was it.
I think I watched it when it first began. It's like, it's okay, you know. And they made cartoons of a lot of those stuff. I remember watching The Mask, and it's like The Max. Sorry, not The Mask. The Mask had one too, but The Max made no sense. Like the comic book, it was great. You know.
Well, this batch of Fireflies is mostly some odds and ends. Like there was a Firefly holiday special, which I got like all 4 covers for. And like some of them, like 2 of the holiday specials, the cover price on them is $9. And I'm like, so this comic shop must have bought a bunch of them and just wants to clear them out now. Because like I said, they were dirt cheap. There was the Firefly series in 2017 called Firefly. Then there was one called Firefly Brand New Verse. Those are the ones I got in January. Got some more alternate covers of them because there's so many. Then there was the new one is called that I got. This was called Firefly Brand New all new Firefly. And then there were some like various mini series like Blues. What was really weird, I think it's called Blue Sky or Blue Hands, something like that. And it was like a 6-issue mini series, except they published it in a 3-issue mini series and 3 issues of the comic. And it was like, what a weird thing to do. You got to switch between the two. Why didn't they just run it all in the comic or run it all in a mini series? I don't know.
Right.
But some nice covers, and a lot of these are like 1 in 25 covers or retail incentives, and they're just like dirt. This one comic shop has them for dirt cheap. Let me show you some of these here. Where's this one? Like here is one that we got let's go this way. The color I took to writing on the back of them what like that's the one. This is the 1 in 25. This is just cover E. Lorenzo De Felici. I wrote the names of the artists just so I wouldn't have to look it up because I like looking at the cover. So there's one set. Oh, Blue Sun Rising. That's it. This is the one that there's a 0, a 1, and a 2. And that's like 1A. 1B. Like I said, these are all $2 average. This is 0A. These ones aren't the best cover. There's a lot of good covers and there's some okay covers. This one I like better. This is 0B. Christian Ward cover. What else do we have? Oh, this one's very. This is The C cover. This is a 1 in 25. Caitlin Yarsky. Once again, a 1 in 25 cover for $2 because I guess they just want to get rid of them. Oh, here now we're into the holiday special. Caitlin Yarsky again. This is the B cover. That one's fun. And here's one. This is a 1D In Hyuk Lee. And this is the version that was like $8 or $9 because it's got, I don't know, because it's got the
foil
reflective ink on it. 1C. This one's really nice. I like this one. It reminds me of Vincenzo Federici. This is the 1 in 25 cover. This one just reminds me of the Peanuts.
Yeah.
It's a fun, everybody stringing the lights. But if you were to like buy this on eBay, it would go $10 or whatever, plus shipping. So it's just amazing. This is the 1 in 25 cover. I really like this drawing. Joe Quiones. And this is, the ink version. Number 5. This is a second print of number 5 that's got its own cover. So this is just like for $2. I still have to read the whole series, collecting all the different covers. The Lee Garbett A cover. And I've managed another Lee Garbett A cover from the original series. Number 8, the Lee Garbett A cover. And I've got a bunch of other Lee Garbett A covers, but I don't think I have these. And they were all in a batch for... Here's the 1 in 50 cover. So you had to buy 50 copies of Firefly 25 to be able to buy this.
Right.
And it was like $2 now because no one wanted it. Once again, the logo-less cover of issue 25. And like issue 25 had 10 covers. Issue 26 by Back, B-A-K. This one isn't one of my favorite covers, but, it was in with the batch. Then here's a 2-issue series called Firefly River Run, another Christian Ward cover. No, pardon me, it was just a one-shot with 2 different... I like this cover. This is the Adam Gorham cover. That one's pretty neat. There's a lot of good image making on these covers.
Right.
Oh, these are the Danny covers. She did something I just read recently. I think the Invisible Man she did. He did. I don't know if it's a he or a she. But this is the all new Firefly one. I don't know who this character is because she's one of the all new characters. But both of these are 1 in 25 covers. So it's amazing to be able to get them for $2. The Inara cover, 1 in 25 cover. I like this one a lot. Like it. And they had all these 1 in 25 covers grouped together for like $10. This has got to be a pen name. Chris Wildgoose. And then same series. These are the Wanted poster covers, which look a lot better in real life than they did in the thumbnail. So they just did all the characters, as Wanted posters.
Yeah, I like those. I think that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they're really not. Like I said, I wasn't that fond of them as I was looking at the photos of them, but they were only like $10 for 5 of them, or $8 maybe. And I went, all right, I may as well get them. And then I got them, and I was like, wow, these look really nice in person. I think they did a good job. I think the type works. I think the illustrations are good. The texture on the paper really works for me. So I got to say, I was very happy with these ones after, they're thinking, maybe I'll skip those ones. But like I said, they were so cheap that I went, all right. Here's what is this? There's another blue sky. This is the Veronica Fish one. I like her stuff too, Veronica Fish. But yeah, that's just some more. I have one more batch coming in of which one was it named? The all new Firefly. There's a few, like, I think it ran 10 issues plus a finale, which was a one shot or something. And I only got 1 to 5 of that. So I ordered 6 through 10. And they're coming in this week, but then I think I'm done. There's actually some more I want to collect, but you know what? That's for another day. But it's fun to get these. Now I gotta rearrange comics again.
So is it a full story collection?
Yeah, it's many full stories. It's Firefly, the main series from 2017. That ran 36 or 38 issues. It's Firefly Brand New Verse, which came after that, which ran about 10 issues. And with the ones I'm getting, it's Firefly, All New Firefly, which ran 10 issues. So it's 3 volumes of Firefly, plus some alternate covers and plus some like individual miniseries or micro series, like 1 or 2 issue series. Like the holiday special is just a one shot.
Right.
So I got lots of Firefly stuff to read and look at. What I've been doing with these two is I have one spot. I've like art supplies on every flat surface, as you must know well.
Yes.
Every flat surface has stuff on them. I've got I cleared off one flat surface over there. And every day I'd go over to the shelf and pull out 10 Firefly issues and put them down there. And then every now and then I'd walk over and switch one cover out. I'd shuffle through the 10. And then the next day I'd put them back and pull out 10 more and put them over there. So that's another way I get to look at the covers.
Is there a particular issue number that you have the most covers of?
I'd have to look, but some I have like 4 or 5 covers. I've got remarkably few doubles.
Okay.
Being that I'm buying them in lots.
Yeah.
And by doubles, I mean the same cover, not alternate cover. Like I have like 4 alternate covers of. But there's maybe 5 that are doubles.
Okay.
I mean, and I think I bought 90 the first time in January, and this is another 32. So that's a pretty low double rate.
Yeah, that definitely is. So I was curious if there's any of the titles that you have the whole run of the alternate covers.
I think so. I'm gonna have to, because I haven't. There's so many. Sometimes the covers had themes.
Yeah.
So, like sometimes they did, because like the place I would get them from, this shop in Philadelphia that was ordering from on eBay, would be like, here's all the B covers. Here's all new verse A, B, C, and D covers. So I like have 4 covers each for all new verse. Just because that's how he was selling them. And it's like, I think he was, and that was like 20 covers, all the different versions for like $30. So I was getting them dirt cheap. I was like, you know what, may as well be like if I had to buy them individually for $4 or $5 a piece, I'd be like, heh.
Yeah.
But being that I could get them, like there's some that I'll have to get off of mycomicshop.com, and they're not expensive. They're like $3 a piece, some of them up to $5. But there was a series of alternate covers they're like B covers or something, that were illustrations of the episode with the title of the original 12 episodes or whatever on it. So it would be like I think the first episode was named Serenity, so this is the cover named Serenity, and they illustrate the episode. I think I have about half of them, and I want to get the other half of them, but I'll do that. There's no rush.
Right.
Hopefully, they won't go up in price after the announcement.
Right. I would guess the ones that would go up in price is probably that would make the most sense would be the new crew stories.
Yeah.
And
first appearance
of those particular characters, and then whatever issue may have a hint to how they're going to bring back one of the characters who died. So don't know if they're going to bring him back as a clone or as a robot, or maybe the movie is non-existent. The movie didn't happen, and then they start the story.
The brand new characters take place like 20 years after the movie, because 20 years have passed since the movie.
Right.
So like Zoe and Wash have a daughter, I think it is.
Right.
I know she's one of the characters.
Right.
Ranger Sly says, I'm a huge Firefly fan, Go Brown Coast, but I've read a few Firefly comics and they don't do anything for me. Me either. I mean, that's why I haven't been buying them. It's the covers that do something for me. Both Dark Horse and Boom. There's no magic happen. I 100% agree with you. I bought the Dark Horse ones, and that's why I never bought any of the Boom ones.
It's very rare that a comic adaptation of a TV show does anything worthwhile, especially because the magic of Firefly, it was mostly that there was great interaction between all the actors, and they translated that into the characters, and you can't do that on the comic page.
Yeah. I think they captured that well in a lot of the covers. But I don't know. I'm going to read the comics, but I don't expect them to be anything special. But like I said, I think a lot of the covers, and I think it also has to do with they captured some of the characters. They captured some of the characters, and they also made some nice imagery, because I think one of the comic book covers used to be all about imagery. And what I mean by that is creating images that you haven't seen before to get you interested in the comic. And they'd especially do it through storytelling. We look at those Silver Age covers and go, wow, I want to read that story, even if there's nothing like it inside. Superman, buy this comic, or I'll shoot this dog, or whatever it was. Buy this comic, or they really came up with great imagery in comic book covers. And that doesn't really happen as much anymore. Covers are more about technique, the artist's technique in making a pretty pinup picture. I think where's one of them? There's a couple of like Veronica Fish's stuff. I assume that this is the daughter of Mal and Zoe. And I think they just caught like the joy of not Mal, Wash and Zoe, and they just caught the joy of Mal showing her how to fly a ship.
Yeah,
I just think that's a nicely done one. Once again, these wanted posters, even though it's kind of a theme that's been done before. I think they captured a little bit of Kaylee, and it's not really a recognizable likeness. But they captured a nice image of her happiness to be fixing something on a wanted poster. So it's really, I have to say, it's the covers that sold the cheapness, and the covers that really made me collect these more than what I hope is inside. I've already spent plenty of time, just like I said, looking at the covers of the one I've already got. Let's go back to the beginning before we talk about more about, let's see. Back to the cancellation but as Ramos said, every new toy line had their cartoons. So cartoons became just toy advertisements instead of trying to do something. I think that did happen, but also you grew up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that's what those were for, was to sell the toys. And the cartoons was part of that.
And also have to understand that Wilson's a few years younger than me, so all the toys and cartoons he loves, I thought I'm cynical about because I was too old for him.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and if they had a good writing team on the shows, they did a lot of stuff with the lore. That's why people liked He-Man and Thundercats.
Yeah, there was
I
stories
thought
to
they were
follow.
awful because I wasn't a kid.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
there were some terrible ones.
People
There's some
forget that.
very much dated ones, and I've gone back to sit there and try to watch them, and some you can, and some you could only watch. Yeah, this half hour is over, and I'm done with it. I'm not sitting here for the next episode.
Oh yeah.
You
Remember
know.
Brave Star? Remember Brave Star?
That was a
I don't.
nice nostalgia hit. Now I'm done.
Right, exactly.
the
So
thing,
there's a few of them that works well. You can still watch, and there's other ones. It's like, yeah, that's just, whew,
Yeah.
not that great.
True, Cartoon Network was the only one doing brand new cartoon series that weren't made to sell toys like Samurai Jack. Yeah, and also those ones were made for adults too.
They were not only made for adults, it's because they didn't have enough cartoons to run a 24-hour cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the Cartoon Network cartoons was only the stuff owned by the Cartoon Network, and that's the Hanna-Barbera stuff. So you could only watch so many because there's only a few that exist that they had to start making. And if you realize, those that were in this list was a new set of creators that were willing to sell their characters to the network because Hanna-Barbera, or now the Cartoon Network, that Warner Brother group owns those cartoons. But every one of those that is listed on there grew up on the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah.
So you see what was influenced, and then it went from there because they didn't have to worry about selling toys. They just needed to fill up time slots.
Yeah, I saw those. All those that started from the What a Cartoon experiment. I was about 15 when I saw the pilots for the first time. So yeah, of course I'm going to like them now. Yeah, of course. The fact.
Yeah, non-cable channels stopped making cartoons.
Yeah. Because again, at that point, they were just competing for airtime and competing to just keep,
And they put on infomercials.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The funniest thing is like I heard about, we come from a generation that at a certain time the TV turned off. They stopped broadcasting. Then they found that somebody just asked, hey, can we, buy this space at night after this time? And it was like, okay, it costs $30 for 3 hours. And the people that were running those infomercials made millions where they realized, oh, there's people actually making money off this slot. Our prices have to go up. And then that's how you get a 24-hour cycle that, that there are people watching these things at that time period. So again, it's to fill out those slots. So since they weren't making money on toys, they had to make a fairly good series to keep people going.
Mm-hmm. Samurai Jack was a cool cartoon. I think I may have watched. I just don't like cartoons in general for some reason. So I'm like, I don't know why. I watched The Simpsons. I love that.
Something that I never liked. Animated feature films. Never. Not even as a kid.
I don't mind them. I was fine with them. The whole Warner Brother ones that was going on for a while, where they were adapting the comic books and stuff like that. I found them fun. But then again, going in, I knew it was a cash grab. Let's do another Batman story. But they did some good adaptations of them.
By the way, this Kaylee cover is another one I think that they just did a terrific job on. Joe Quinones.
And the color
version of this too. What was that?
That looks less like Keeley than the previous cover he showed.
Do you know what? It feels like her.
Yeah,
Because he's
it's
sitting
just gotta feel
cross-legged.
like her. That's all.
Yeah,
Like I don't think a likeness is that important. I mean, hell, I mean, sometimes
yeah.
it is. I mean, some guys can
Sometimes
really do likenesses. That's fine. But I'm
That
saying as
looks
long as the
like Dr.
joy
Quinn,
of it,
Medicine Woman.
I can see what you mean now that you say that.
and doing likenesses is a pain. Some people can do it, some people can't, and then some people can do it and it looks so stiff.
Yeah.
But to
Some
me
people
that
they can do it. You like you got a likeness, but no life.
yeah, because some artists have to just trace over the image because this is what I learned working in comics. Depending
That's
on the
what I do.
project, depending on the project, and the contracts, just working at Marvel, watching what Bobby had to go through for the Star Trek license. And they're a pain because each individual actor has to approve each individual image that appeared on the comic. That's why if you look at a DC Star Trek book, they're the same heads.
Yeah.
Because once they had one image approved, they reused that head over and over again.
They did the same thing for X-Files over at Topps, I remember too. I think who was it? The Walking Dead guy, not All Red, but Adler. There we go. I get their names mixed up.
Charlie Adler.
Adler was doing the X-Files, and they wouldn't approve a lot of his heads, so they just ended up cutting and pasting the approved heads onto the panels. So it gets crazy with license stuff.
I think the easiest book they had was Early Voyages, because most of all those actors were already have passed, and there were stories that they could make up. So that's why that book was probably the best of the Marvel series, because that had the least amount of problems in itself to how long things had to get approved and stuff like that. So I don't know how it is with Dark Horse or Boom Studios, whatever their license thing was with those guys, and those guys are probably a little easier to work with because they all go to conventions, so it was probably easier to talk to these guys directly on likenesses and stuff like that. So that's why Kaylee didn't have to be spot
like
on
this
perfect.
one, I don't think the likeness isn't so much Kaylee, but they capture her joie de vivre, something about her curiosity, so like this one, who is this? Caitlin Yarsky. I think like this one's a nice one, I think, despite the fact that the likeness isn't 100% the actress.
Also, I think she's working on a robot from another comic book series. That head looks familiar.
Yeah.
That would have been from that same not the same publishing company. I forget the name, but that character looks familiar. Yeah, sometimes you could get it spot on, sometimes not. Well, I enjoyed working for like Lucasfilms back before Disney bought them. Like Lucasfilm was like, as long as you get it to look good, it didn't have to be spot on with the characters. And Topps made it so easy for like the sketch cards. It was like,
this one right
you don't have
here,
to
I don't know what it is about the face that reminds me of 1990s Marie Javins.
Yeah.
As much as Kaylee. Does that make sense to you, Wilson?
It does. I think it's the hair and the eyes and the smile.
Somehow?
The smile and the eyes.
Yeah. That reminds me of young Marie. I'm not telling you it reminds me of Marie. I haven't seen Marie in 5 years. I don't know if it reminds me of her now, and we're all a lot older.
Oh yeah, definitely are.
Steve Geiger just said, who did he just call? I think he said on my picture I posted today that I'm looking like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was like, oh. I don't think he means young Kenobi. Let's see. The non-existent actors in my comic have great natural chemistry. It really shows on the pages, probably.
That's because you captured their souls.
Yeah. 100% agree with Paulo. The cast of actors, mostly unknown at the time, made the magic happen. And good scripts and fun dialogue. Yeah, that was lightning in a bottle. That show, that was really good. I enjoyed that one.
If the actors get along, you know that you get a good show.
Right. And that's right now. I'm rewatching Nathan Fillion in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. I haven't watched that show in a decade or so. So I'm enjoying that. Young Nathan Fillion, along with Ryan Reynolds and Trailer Howard, and forget the fourth guy's name. the other guy.
I don't know if his cop series is over or not.
No, Rookie's still going. I watched that one.
Rookie's still going. Yeah.
I have been watching Nathan Fillion for a lot of years on TV because I've watched. I watched him in Two Guys and a Girl. Watched him in Firefly. Watched him in Castle. Watched him in Rookie.
I watched him in Castle a long time.
Yeah. Yep. I watched all of Castle from beginning to end. They got Kaylee's warm smile with the dimples. That sells the cover. Yeah. Yeah. On the black and white cover. Yeah, the color cover is, I should pull that out just to show you. Hold on. Let me see what issue that was. I'll go over to it was like issue 7 or something. Issue Firefly 3D. This is the 1 in 25. I'm going to walk over and get issue 3, the color.
And then I forget Kaylee's, the actress's name, and I followed her onto Stargate SG-1. Actually, she was on Atlantis.
Atlantis, yeah. It was Atlantis. She was Atlantis from season 3, I think.
Right, so it's like she stayed in space for a little while for me, so I kept watching her.
The colorist did a terrific job on this. There's the two of them. And as you can see, wrong. The colorist colored in that whole shirt that color, and did a nice Lion Decker-like job on the flesh.
Yeah,
it looks good. It's the to me that harkens back to the pinup girls on the plains.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah. So excellent job. Marguerite Savage. How come I got 2 different names on this?
Maybe one's the colorist?
No. I don't know. No, it's Kyo. I must have wrote the wrong name down because his signature is right there. Quiones. I'll have to cross that out and put the other name on. Because I think I was getting the names from mycomicshop.com had who did each cover on it. But I guess they could make mistakes too.
Yeah, I would guess that's the colorist's name.
No, Marguerite Savage is an artist. I mean, I know she's done other covers.
Okay.
She's good. It's just that Joe Quinones did this one. Yeah, I wonder if there's coloring credit on this cover. Let's see. Just says Quinones on the UPC. Pre-order cover by Joe Quinones. Maybe he did the coloring too. There's another one by Marguerite Savage.
Oh, okay.
Colored by Marcelo Costa, one of Paulo's cousins.
There you go.
But yeah, that color version, like I said, I like the color version. You know, the color version takes the lines out of her face and makes them shading like a pinup. He must have done that himself.
Oh, okay.
Good stuff. What? Because just like I think a lot of artists, or cover artists at least, color their own covers these days. Jewel State was Kaylee. I follow her on Facebook, so you would think I would remember her name right now, but I did not.
I know that's her name, but I couldn't think of it, and it's like it just popped right out of my head when
I
we were
read a
talking about
post
her.
on her by Facebook, like yesterday.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure
I
I saw
should have remembered her
her show
name,
something today. Yep.
but I could not. Castle was pretty good for a few. I liked Castle from beginning to end.
Yeah, I enjoyed Castle the whole way
I mean,
through.
I haven't ever watched it again besides, when it ran from week to week, but I enjoyed it. Just like I enjoy The Rookie now with him on it, It's probably not one I'll watch again, but I enjoy it week to week.
Yeah, I eventually dropped it only because it was like, it's enjoyable, but I wasn't watching it when it was live, so it's like I was catching up on it. And it's like, and I enjoyed it, but it's like it went through a phase of cop drama, and then went
Yeah.
over to fireman drama,
Yeah.
and but again, still watching Firefly characters because with
Yeah.
the fireman one has Zoe's character,
Right.
the actress that plays Zoe. Sorry. Yeah, she's on there. It's like everyone went to different kind of emergency dramas, so they're all in different uniforms. And it's like, okay, I'm doing the one for the police, 911, Texas one, 911
Yeah.
Austin, Lone Star.
Lone Star.
I was watching that one, and it's like that's fun.
Resident Alien, right? Alan Tudyk. I never know how to say his last name. He keeps telling us how to pronounce it, and I keep forgetting.
Here's the thing: I really hate Resident Alien because I like the
I
comic.
couldn't get into it.
I watched, how many seasons was it? 3 or 4?
I found the clips funny because the clips will always pop up on TikTok and stuff like that.
Right.
The clips were funny, but when I watched the first episode, I was like, is this supposed to be a comedy? It doesn't seem like a comedy because they're killing too many people left and right, and it's like I get it's dark comedy, but it was like it's not overly funny.
Not only that, it's a complete reversal of what the character's supposed to be. Because
it's nothing like the comic. Nothing like the comic.
Right.
I liked the first 2 seasons of it, maybe. I think it went 3 seasons. This last season, its final season, I watched the first episode or 2 and then just kind of stopped. I couldn't even be bothered to watch the end of the series because I don't know, it just didn't interest me anymore. Gina Torres, there we go.
Yes, there we go.
Also in Suits. Okay. Family Law, Jewel State is on a lawyer show. Oh, that's right. I think that's the Canadian one too. I think it ran up in Canada first and then down here in the States. She was also in like Stargate Atlantis, which I never saw.
Yes. Yep.
I only know, like I said, I follow her on Facebook, so I know she's mentioned it.
Yeah, she replaced the guy who played the Scottish doctor, because the character died and then was replaced by his not evil twin from another dimension.
Weird. My limey protagonist ends every sentence with "what" or "what."
Don't forget to have him call everybody governor.
Matter of fact, I think she reposted something, Jewel State, about somebody saying you were handcuffed an awful lot in Stargate Atlantis, I think it was, and they had like 3 or 4 clips of her with her hands bound.
Yeah, but Morena Baccarin appeared in a Stargate SG-1 where she played the bad guy in the last season. Because they had defeated the Goa'uld, and they came up with these aliens who were related to the ancients, but they wanted to enslave the whole galaxy and turn everybody. It was the Spanish Inquisition in space.
Yeah.
Morena Baccarin probably had the most success next to Nathan Fillion, and I have no idea if that's how you pronounce her last name. But I've always said it Baccarin, but I just don't know. I don't know. They all seem to have been working actors for all this time. I can't remember what Morena's done. I know she's done other things. I can't think of them.
She did Gotham.
That's right, and Sheriff Country currently. Yeah, they're all starring. I mean,
yeah.
Gina Torres is starring in something right now. Then Wash was in Resident Alien just right then. And what has Jane been doing? He's done things too.
Well, he's one of the Baldwin brothers, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of the Baldwin brothers.
He's always busy on something.
So he's not. If he's not acting, he's busy on something.
Another thing I read this week is I got to read the first volume of Ms. Tree Quarterly, issue number 1. This is the DC Comics one. And I have to say, after I just finished reading, Eclipse Monthly, which had the very first Ms. Tree story in it, and I have to say that I did not realize how much better Terry Beatty had gotten in the 90s on this. Not that he was bad in the other stuff, but just sort of much more sophisticated. Adam Baldwin was on Chuck.
Oh, that's right. He
and
was
he's
on
not
Chuck.
Related to those Baldwins. Marina Barkarin can enslave me anytime with Captain Kennedy. Like, I think there's a lot more subtlety to his drawing in this stuff than there was in the 80s stuff that I remember, at least. I haven't read the 80s stuff in a while. But it was definitely, it was like a 40-page, done in one story. So it was really cool. And then at the end, we have, I don't know who this, Graham Nolan, I think, did this next piece. Midnight. Is he a DC character? By
Captain Midnight?
Ed Gorman and Graham Nolan. I don't remember Midnight at all.
He's the spirit stand-in.
Okay. I vaguely remember that now. And then there's what I didn't read. Whoops. There's a text piece. By like Denny O'Neil with Mike Grell illustrations.
Ooh.
Some nice Mike Grell illustrations.
That is
get that
really
one
nice.
up close.
I wonder if that's inspired by the old Golden Age books where there was always like a 2-page story.
Yeah,
it's like a detective story that was added
to get the mailing license.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I like that just having those illustrations in there, and the design of where they're putting the text too.
Terrific. I have no interest in reading it, but
but at least it's a nice addition. That probably would have got me to read it, because those I usually always skipped.
Yeah,
that always felt like
I'm
this extra
not
homework.
a huge Denny O'Neil fan. It's probably the reason I skipped it too.
Okay.
Oh, we got some information. Yes, Midnight was a spirit clone from the Golden Age. Deadpool, Gotham, Homeland, Greenland. That's what Marina Bakarin was doing. Okay. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Oh, that's right. She was Deadpool's love interest.
And she's
that was a pretty big role.
She's in that current movie Wrecking Crew. And she was good in that. That was that was a fun, silly movie of just two big guys causing destruction.
Oh, that's right. Was it fun. Batista and...
Yes, Batista and Jason Momoa. Okay.
Ed Gorman was mostly a crime horror Western novelist who was friends with Max Allan Collins. That makes sense. Though what was weird was, it's... What did it say here? I was looking at the indicia. Ms. Tree is a trademark of DC Comics and copyright Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty. I thought they split it up the other way usually, but I can't remember. I guess they didn't. because the Ms. Tree, because I know that's how they did it with some of their creator-owned stuff, was like the creator had the copyright, but I guess DC had the trademark. So if they wanted to publish Ms. Tree, they had to get DC's permission, even though they had the copyright for all the work.
Right.
They had the right to copy it, but not use Ms. Tree.
Yeah, as a brand, that is. If
Right.
they decided to call it Lady Detective and
Right.
call her Mystery inside, they could.
Huh. Weird.
That DC did a few experiments with Vertigo where they brought back some old trademarks.
Okay.
But the stories inside are creator-owned, are owned by the creators.
Hmm.
They keep the copyright, but it's just that they couldn't really reprint them without DC's permission at the time. Because I got the Losers series, and the Losers, the one that inspired the movie. The stories are creator-owned, but of course, Losers is a trademark of DC because they had the Losers property from the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Ms. Tree, the book has popped back up in the culture after Jillian Jacobs said she wanted to play Dakota North. And people are starting talking about Ms. Tree being better. Oh, okay. I saw Jillian Jacobs wanting to play Dakota North, but I didn't know anyone mentioned Ms. Tree after that. Ms. Tree's thrilling detective adventures. Ms. Tree will pop you in the jaw. Tough as nails. But I'm looking forward to reading some more of them. Maybe I'll do one a week of those too. Along with my Eclipse Monthly. Let's see, what else did I get this week? Oh, well, you know what? Let's take some time, even though I haven't read it all yet. Comics the Magazine came out, issue number 1, $3.
Oh, okay.
And it very much is influenced by Wizard. Right down to the design that'll make your eyes bleed.
Yeah, that's a lot of purple.
Yep. That's
Let's get some white type on blue.
That's very Wizard.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would bet, they probably had a Wizard magazine open and it's like, that was
they're
the last.
wearing it on their sleeve.
Yeah, that's the last big comic book magazine.
There you go.
Whoa.
Try to read that. Go right ahead.
I wonder how old they are.
Probably reading Wizard magazine.
How did we get here? Brief history of fanzines.
I don't know. I mean, we haven't had Wizard for a while. I started reading Wizard in the late 90s when I was in my late teens. So I'm not sure if at this stage that I would be interested in publishing a Wizard clone.
This is right out of Wizard, but instead of art school, it's arts cool. And it shows us how to draw pouches. We got the standard pouch, the fantasy pouch, the sci-fi pouch, and the pouch on pouches.
Take that,
match
Rob.
The pouch to the character. Yeah. So that's Wizard. That's Wizard.
Yeah, there's definitely a Wizard nostalgia in that book.
Right. They've got their comic picks in the back.
There's a Wizard logo right there too.
Oh, that's for the where is it? Do you miss Wizard magazine? Revisit every issues from the 90s. So there's a weekly Wizard podcast.
Oh God.
All right.
Okay. So there's even like ads in this thing from various.
Okay, so it's an apologetic.
Right. And even in the back they've got where is it? Top 10 cover artists, top 10 interior artists, top 10 writers. Wizard did stuff like that too. And they've got, I don't think it's quite a price guide. It's called Short Boxed. And it's got a bunch of comics and their prices. But I think it's an app. It's It's a web, yeah.
It looks like a
Shortbox
CGC ad.
is a marketplace for buying and selling comic books, trusted by over 100,000 collectors and dealers, with over 75,000 books listed for sale on the marketplace auction. So there's a little thing you can scan right there, and I guess this is some prices they have for sale. Like you can get a 9/8 of 1991's X-Men #1 for $67. A 9/8 of Absolute Batman #1 for $380. Savage She-Hulk #1, a 9/8 for $281. So it's not quite a price guide. It's a guide to you can actually buy these by hitting this. So that's an interesting,
It is a Mile High comic ad from back in the day, because you would open it up in the comic books and there'll be a My High comic ad, and you see. I love looking at old issues because, like, wow, I could have bought Spider-Man #1 for $500 if I had $500 back in 1982 or whatever the number was. And it's like, wow, I couldn't afford it then, but look at that number.
A Ronda Rousey graphic novel. History of fanzines. A fanzine timeline. JimRugg.com. So all sorts of people. I'm sure all their friends took out ads and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The thing is,
who's the publisher is Adam Freeman. Adam with an exclamation point. Is he the same Adam Freeman there was someone who spelled their name like that in Bad Idea, who was the marketer, I think. That might be him. I wonder if it's him. Editor-in-Chief, Joseph Keating. Art Director, Rico Renzi. Director of Operations, Megan Mardson. Director of Sales, Gabe Yocum. Director of Digital, Brian Garside.
They say who did production?
No, I didn't say who did the production. Maybe it was the art director. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think that was. I got to look that up now. Because who else could be spelling their name like that?
Yeah, the only other person I know that spells their names with an exclamation point is Adam Hughes with the his AH signature type thing he put on the covers.
Oh, here, yeah. He left in October 2024. Adam Freeman transitions from Bad Idea Comics to focus on Prana direct market solutions full-time. Freeman reflects on his productive and editorial time with Bad Idea. Okay, so it's the same Adam Freeman who worked at Bad Idea Comics. I knew it had to be. Who else spells Adam, ATOM, exclamation point? So this is what he's doing. All right.
Well, that's neat that there's a comic book magazine.
Yeah. I already pre-ordered the second issue, so like for $3, why not?
What is the production schedule? Is monthly, bi-monthly, week?
I think monthly as of right now. Does it say? Copyright. Yeah, Parma. This is what he left for. Part of this publication does not say, but since I pre-ordered issue 2 last week, it must be monthly.
Okay.
But I'll keep for $3. I'll keep getting it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I am curious on what they're putting in there, and so I'll try to remember to pick that up next time I go to the comic book shop.
Yeah, my comic shop had about 15 copies of it out, so they may be giving away the first issue to comic shops.
Right, because there's no point in them doing the magazine if their features are 500 words. It needs to be in depth.
No, they're not going to be in depth. They're wizard. They're trying to be wizard.
Right, but it's paper. Either you
Yeah,
do
I know.
something.
It's something you read on the toilet for 10 minutes and then throw to the side.
Yeah, people. That's why people have scrolling. That's free.
Jared, you lost me at Wizard. Yeah, I was never a fan of Wizard either. I was a fan of Amazing Heroes, me too. Comic Scene, Overstreet Marketplace, but Wizard and Hero unreadable to me. All about speculation in the hot. I can remember because Wizard used to send their issues to Marvel. Like when they come in, they're like, oh, the new Wizard magazine. They'd have like a bundle of 20 copies or whatever. And everybody would walk over to them, flip through them in about 10 minutes and go, not much to read in here. But, we were working at Marvel Comics. Of course, there was not much for us to read in there.
Yeah.
I know, the people who loved Wizard were people who had no information.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I've harped on Wizard and Hero, they had the market for a while. But everybody knew about it. We're reading about it. My job for a short time was to go through Wizard magazine and flag every bad Marvel thing they said. And they said it a lot. And they are responsible for the reason why the Clone Saga ran so long. Because they kept spoiling stuff. And Marvel, at a certain point, at that time, refused to let Wizard do as much as they did. So they kept changing what Wizard suspected the ending was going to be. So they kept moving around whatever Wizard was saying because they didn't want Wizard to be right. And it just ran that story way too long. And it got to the point that every time Wizard magazine said the word clone, they would put in parentheses ugh. So the Spider Clone Saga this week, ugh. And I went through one of the articles and I had a flag how many uggs they were. And it was always this kind of back and forth of, can we get a cover? Can we do this? It got wild back then. And Garib would come by to the office every once in a while. And then, talking to the editors and all that. And Wizard at the time was making a set of bags and boards with their own branding on it. I think it was called Rhino or something like that. And Garrett still owes me a pack of boards, a pack of plastics, and he never sent them.
Ranger Sly. I was excited when I saw there was new comic book fanzine, but not anymore. You only have to get $3 worth of excitement out of it. That's all.
Exactly.
You get $3 worth of excitement out of it, you're okay. I think I can get $3 worth of excitement out of it.
And I
might
like
not be able to get 4, but 3 I can do. Looks like they've solicited up to issue 4, and it looks to be monthly. Sorry, up to issue 3. There was an issue 0 that threw me off. Yeah, I didn't see the issue 0.
Well, of course, there's an issue 0.
Yeah, of course.
If it's
was not my thing. However, I do know that a lot of young people who were into the spec stuff that got hipped to a lot of indie books via Palmer's picks. Yeah, I don't. Wizard wasn't my thing, but I really don't want to put it down either because it was one of those things that was good for a lot of people.
I think it was good at that time. It was something that was needed. Because it did bring in a lot of people into comics.
Yeah, it got people excited about stuff. I'm all for that.
And I wasn't in the spec stuff, but by the time I started reading Wizard, it was 1996. So of course the speculators market had already died. Yeah. But it was good for me because it was it was pre-internet, and it was the first time I learned anything about the industry.
And there was a lot of art stuff in there too.
And even through the price guide, you learned a lot of history.
Oh yeah, I used to love to buy my first price guide. I think was 1980 or something, and I just loved it because not for the prices, for the history in it. There was articles, there was little notations. Those Overstreet guides were terrific.
Yeah, there was some good stuff in it.
Let's see. Marvel's X-Men were at least 50% of Wizard's covers. Yeah, the rest were Image and Batman. You never saw Osagu, Jimbo, or Concrete on the covers of Wizard. Nah, because it wouldn't sell issues.
Exactly.
I'm okay. Just like when I first ordered this, I said Absolute Batman's on the cover, and I understand that 100%. I'd put Absolute Batman on the cover too if I was selling a magazine about comics.
Yeah. We used to get complaints that our newspaper only had covers with Formula One.
Yeah.
If we tried doing anything that was not Formula One or World Rally Championship on the cover, our sales took like a 30% dip. So it doesn't. If you need to put the X-Men on the cover to sell a Wizard, you put the X-Men on the cover every single issue. Then there's no discussion.
Yeah,
it's a survival.
We're trying to sell a magazine here.
Yeah.
And I would say most of the people that I met through Wizard were great people.
Yeah.
Some people that I'm still in contact with or done work for.
A lot of them have worked at Marvel and DC over the years.
Yeah,
too.
Buddy Scalara came from Wizard.
Yeah.
There's tons of other people that just, again, they did some early great conventions and, had a lot of fun. So I can't knock Wizard for that.
They were right by me too. They were about 6-8 miles away from me in Rockland County, same county. Tit Goblin, all my Rhino boards yellowed like shit. It summed up the 90s in comics when I took them out of storage. Having Wizard made me feel like I was part of its bullpen. I bet it's what Marvel kids felt back in the day. Yeah, a lot of people. That's why I don't put down Wizard just because, it wasn't for me. It was for a lot of people who wanted to feel good and have fun with comics.
Yeah.
I was okay with it.
The speech that Frank Miller gave on at Comic-Con where he ripped the Wizard, that thing was one of the first things that appeared online when the internet became.
Oh yes, I remember that. I could understand. Listen, I can understand someone like Frank Miller being unhappy with Wizard, but I could also understand a lot of the kids who were reading it loving it because it gave them information about comics.
Yeah. I suppose that Amazing Heroes was a good compromise between Wizard and Comics International or something. But
if there was a Wizard magazine coming out when I was 10 years old, I probably would have liked it. No doubt.
Yeah. And again, back then, there was so many comic magazines that, and I got a lot of them just because they each was, unique in their own way. So for me, it was fun. So I don't think I have as a nostalgia for Hero magazine as much as Wizard. Like I think every time I find a Wizard magazine laying around, I'd like looking at it because not only is it fun to look back on, it's a nice snapshot of that time period.
Yeah. Let me do a quick run through of the comics I got this week. The other ones that I haven't shown yet. Paul Azaceta is back with Seasons number 9, our fellow Marvel bullpenner. Rogue Sun hits issue 33 with more of these terrible covers that just look like mishmash. Dork issue number 2 came out this week.
Yeah,
I don't think it went up in price a whole lot, but it was a good second issue. I think I'm going to stick with it. Die Loaded. Issue number 5 came out. This one continues to be good. Volume 2 of Die, that is. The new issue of Spawn, which was probably the worst written issue of Spawn in a while. There was just so much explanation from Todd McFarlane that was terrible. And
maybe Todd should consider letting Brett Booth write.
This actual run of Spawn has been better. It has been the best writing Todd McFarlane has done until this issue. Where Does the Rainbow End? Some more Stefano Cardacelli. I really enjoy that one. Let me show you a little of this Spawn here, just to give you a flavor. Opening all explanation. More explanation on the splash page. Those brown captions. Oh, we get to some just regular stuff here. More explaining captions up there. All these captions do is explain what's going on. And we could tell what's going on. Lots of explaining on this page. Then, of course, there was double page spread of explaining.
Wow.
Then, of course, we have the news shows explaining, which I don't even bother to read these.
I was going to ask if he brought back the news heads. He really must have loved Dark Knight
Whenever those
Returns.
show up, I don't read them.
He must have really loved Dark Knight Returns.
They should do an entire comic of news heads.
The news heads explaining to you what's going on. Like the narration was explaining to. Oh, one last thing. Matt Kint and David Rubin's Space Scouts #3. This is 3 of 3. Let me show you the inside, because this is some really nice artwork. I don't remember. I don't think I've seen David Rubin. He's got an accent over that last I, so I assume it's Rubin. Oh, that's not even
that magazine size?
There's a nice face right there. Here's some nice psychedelic colors.
David Rubin is actually from Spain. So
from Spain. David Rubin. And of course, there's some dossiers in the back.
Also,
all the different characters.
Also, lots of explaining.
I don't. They're at the end. You don't have to read them.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that's nice. I like those, but sometimes that feels like homework.
I mean, how long
did it take 3-issue series?
How long would it take you to read an actual entire issue of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe?
I don't know. I used to, though. Back when I was a younger man, back when I wore a younger man.
Yeah, that was high school reading. That was high school reading. I don't know if I would go through the whole book in one shot or pick the characters I liked and read it, because I was getting those monthly. So I'm pretty sure that I would eventually, by the next book, read that whole book. Maybe a week.
It took me a long time to get through Love and Rockets issue 1. There was a lot of writing in there. I mean, half an hour, 40 minutes maybe. There was a lot of writing in Love and Rockets #1. Wasn't bad at all. I enjoyed reading it all, but it's not fast. See, Iron Zero. In many ways, it was an intro to fanzines. Hopefully, it led some to the Comics Journal or indie books. Yeah, or even less mainstream books from the big two like Marvel, Starman, or Vertigo. Yeah, hopefully. Like I said, some people got introduced to Usagi Yojimbo and stuff like that.
I bought the Portuguese one. There was one time a Portuguese publisher decided to publish Strange Haven, and I bought it because I remember the article on Palmer's Picks.
I may have seen Strange Haven in Wizard too. I don't know where else I would have heard of it from. But, you know, I mean, I'm an indie guy, but even back then, that was not an easy book to have heard of. Strange Haven.
I think they eventually had an indie series, indie magazine for.
Strange Haven was never finished.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't. That thing came out like once every 6 months because.
Yeah, it was self-published, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was killing himself doing detailed drawings.
Yeah, it was never gonna. It was never gonna work like that. And I actually I actually talked to him when he came here for the book presentation, and he said he wanted to do everything. He wanted to write it, draw it, paste it,
letter
edit it, go through the printer plates and market it. It was too much.
I can understand wanting to do everything, but
we all go through that phase. We all go through that phase and realize, I could probably get someone to do this part.
And also,
part. You don't want to.
You don't want to draw that many lines in a panel. You learn to strip down your work to the essentials.
If some English guy, he was clearly a guy that would have been more at home if he had tried the French market instead of the US one. But most British artists, they don't try France. They all want to go to Marvel or DC or at least Vertigo.
That's they know that path.
They don't want to learn French.
Yeah.
Of course I am French. Why do you think I have this outrageous accent?
Hey, I saw Top Secret yesterday on TV. That thing was actually a lot funnier. That guy was the butler from Downton Abbey.
Ah.
That thing was a lot funnier than I remembered. I actually understood more jokes now than as a kid.
You probably understood more of the joke yet.
Speaking of 90s indie books, did anyone else listen to the comic book couples counseling episode of Tyrant? Good stuff. Podcast episode. I don't think I know the comic book couples counseling.
I really need to clean up my viewing. Getting to some.
No, I can remember when. Who did Tyrant? Veitch?
Something like that, yeah.
Was it Veitch or Bissett? One of the Swamp Thing guys. I think it was.
It was Bissett, yeah.
It was Bissett?
Yeah.
I can just remember when that first came out and he was laying out his plans for Tyrant, how it was going to. It's supposed to be about the life of a T-Rex. If it's the same Tyrant. I think there was one other after, and it was going to be, I don't know, 100 issues or this or that. And I was like, 100 issues? Is he insane? Let's, it was just one of those artists' super ambitious things that like no one ever sticks to except Dave Sim. And then like 3 issues of it came out. And I was like, oh, I knew it. But I was like, shouldn't he know better? Because that's what like young, wet behind the ears artists say. I got this epic, sprawling idea. It's gonna run for 120 issues, and did it, and it never does because you don't have an audience.
They never did the one book.
Yeah, he never did the one book, let alone the 120.
Do one book first.
And to hear him say that was like, wow, come on. Yes, it's the same. Bissett was talking the episode about the book. There's an upcoming collection. I didn't even remember he did enough for a collection. But I remember reading the first 2 and was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But I was like, 100 issues. Oh. And there was also no words in it because it was the life of a T-Rex. So there was no narrator. It was all visual storytelling.
You save money on the letterer.
But I was like, come on, Steve, you got to know better than that. Let's try to get a graphic novel out first. 6 issues. Did I show everything here? I think I did. I also have, now here's a weird thing. Chaos Moon, that comic I showed last week that I got issues 2, 3, and 4 for by Bowlers. I forget his first name, the artist, Bowlers, we were looking up. The lettering equivalent of Burns Snowblind. No, that had lettering. But anyway, I had ordered issues 1 and 2, I told you last week, from, because I had issues 3 through 4, and I had an alternate issue of 2. So I ordered issues 1 and 2 for like $10 off of eBay. And the guy didn't send it out. Whoever I ordered it from didn't send it out all week. I was like, geez, when is this coming? When is this coming? When is this? Finally, I don't know if he actually shipped it or he just put it in an envelope today or yesterday. And they're like, estimated date, March 25th. Wednesday, March 25th. I'm like, when is that? That's like in 2 Wednesdays. I'm like, where's this coming from that it's March 25th? And I looked at it. It's coming from Long Island. I'm like, how is it going to take 10 days to make a 60-minute drive? I'm like, what kind of estimate? Even the U.S. Postal Service doesn't estimate something's going to take 10 days coming from Long Island to my house. I was just like, huh? Crazy. What do we say here? I do recommend the Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast. They're behind the YouTube series The Stacks, which is like the Criterion closet for comics. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Maybe equivalent was the wrong word. Counterpart? Oh, yes. Equivalent was the opposite. They only had the letterer in the Snowblind one and no letterer in Tyrant. Whatever that would be, not quite the opposite, but. Who was that one? Oh, I forget who they are. They're I found out about them from doing this show. Someone recommended them. And in the Library of Graphic Literature, I think that might be it. Do you know that one? It's an older dude and a younger woman. And they talk about comics. And he's obviously, been reading comics forever. And I don't know if she's his daughter or friend or who whatever she is, but she's much younger than him. He's always telling her stuff about the comics. And they've got some interesting stuff to say, except it's so badly mic'd that I can't listen to it because I can't hear what they're saying. I'm just like, buy a microphone. I don't know what they're using for a microphone, but I'm like, oh my goodness, come on. I wanna listen to you, but I can't hear you because they're in a big room, their library room. And they're not individually mic'd. So whatever mic they got is across the room from them. And it might just be like a laptop mic or even laptop and phone mics are better than what they've got. So I'm always just like, oh, come on. I want to hear you. My buddy Wallace, is he the comics? Tell him to buy a microphone. These ones are good. A nice Yeti mic. Picks up sound from all the way across the room. I bought that I don't know how many years ago, 5, 8 years ago. Been using it ever since. It works perfectly. Anything. The little lapel mics, they work good. Because I want to listen to a show more, but every time I start playing it, I'm like, I can't hear a word they're saying. It's all muffled and in the distance, and they turn their heads and it's a little too, because I don't know about you guys, but I like the less professional comic book talk. I don't like the slick, we're trying to make money talking about Marvel comics, comic shows. I like the guys like us coming on and talking comics.
Yeah, there used to be what was that thing's name? and I can't remember, but the guys talked for 3 hours as well, and they would go over like issues 10 to 20 of the Avengers.
Yeah.
And spend 3 hours talking about it.
That's the stuff I like. Or just, talking about the comics you bought this week. Whatever you got going on, just talk to me. That's why I like that in the Library of Graphic Literature, if I could only hear it. They only were mic'd. There's some shows that are like that. You're like, come on. One of the show, what was that show I used to like? Pete's Basement. I was just checking. They haven't put out a show in like 5 years, but they were around for like 13 years, I think. They were an early YouTube show. Just Pete was a comic fan in his basement with a couple of his buddies in Brooklyn. And they'd put on a show every week for a couple of hours. That was good stuff.
Yeah, they're still in comics. I run into them at Comic Cons all the time.
Yeah, they still exist. They just don't put a YouTube show out. But that was a good show.
Yeah, I used to like watching them.
Yeah.
Ask them next time I run into them. Probably be in New York Comic Con.
So what are you doing? How's it going? Maybe I'll try to go to the New York Comic Con again this year. They'll probably reject my professional credentials again, but
Yeah, do it as early as possible. You never know.
You never know. You never. Not going to Mocha Fest this year because they're not having Pratt there.
Oh no?
They overbooked and wanted Pratt to spend a lot of money to get in, and they're like, no thanks.
Schools don't have money.
Especially with Trump's war on higher education is threatening my job right now, so I'm not happy about that.
Oh.
Schools having a hard time getting students because of all the student loan stuff that Trump has done to say you can't get student loans and put limits on them. And we have a lot of foreign students who it's hard. They don't want to come here anymore, and it's hard for them to come here. So it's like not fun right now.
Well, you could try moving here. You could try moving here, but you probably won't make that much money.
That's not like I'm making that much money anyway.
But as for the rest, you can work remotely, and you'll get a 5-hour head start.
Yeah, I always toyed around with the idea of like teaching an online comic book class, but I'm too lazy to do that. The few times I put together a video, and it's like, okay, this is fine. I don't know if this is something I want to do all the time.
You've done some how-to ones here and there. During COVID, I made videos for all my students. Right. They still exist. But I've toyed with that idea too, but I'm just kind of like, maybe someday. I first want to make video. Matter of fact, I might make this the summer of making art videos because I finally got some ideas. Because I have 30 years worth of art that no one's ever seen. So it'd be fun to make some videos showing it off. But figuring out how to show off art on video isn't easy. But I think I might do it this. I might do some next. I'm on spring break. Woohoo! Next week is spring break, so woohoo!
Is it? All right.
I might start then. Try making a few videos, see what I can do. Because I wanted to do it over winter break. I thought about it, but didn't get any done. Now I'm like, you know what? I got to do this, especially if I have no classes to teach in the fall.
Right.
That would be very bad.
What is good about like doing the videos is that with certain things of art, especially the computer stuff that we do, it's like a lot of the stuff is like once you set it up the one time to teach it, it's almost the same thing each and every time. There's not much differences. There's some nuances here and there.
The basics are the basics. It's handling the problems that's the job.
Yeah.
The basics are, hey, let me show you how to set up a page. Hey, let me show you how to do this. That's not hard at all.
And then you break those down into like, oh, here's how you do a pattern brush.
Right.
From just your patterns that you did in that book.
Mm-hmm.
You do a video of how to fill up a book. Then you
just
do a video of how to scan that one page to make a pattern.
I just was right. Matter of fact, a little post in a few weeks. I was just after I think Thursday, when I spent a good few hours scanning in a whole bunch of stuff, I was writing a blog on how nobody cares, but I might be the person who's done the most scans ever. I mean, nobody cares.
Right.
It's not anything, but I've been scanning all my stuff in tons of stuff since like 1995. I'm like, there may be someone out there who's done more scanning than me, but I don't know them.
Right.
And if they did, it's probably their job. But usually when your job is scanning, that's an entry-level job. And you do it for a few years and then move on to something else in there even. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but I've been scanning. I have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of scans of things. I probably have at least made 20,000 scans. I mean, at Marvel for a few years, I'd scan in 100 things a week at least. This is not even counting my Marvel days. I've got 20,000 things scanned. So it's just like, am I the person who scanned the most stuff in the world? I have no idea. But I don't know anyone who scanned more than me.
Yeah, I don't either. I scan stuff at Marvel. When I started the art studio here, I was scanning stuff for other artists because they didn't.
But they don't even scan at Marvel anymore.
They don't. Yeah.
Then I probably made 1,000 scans for Bob Wyacek easily because he used to bring all his stuff over to get scanned.
Yeah, I had maybe 4 artists that always needed scans that I would do it for them.
Jared might need a scanning intervention.
But yeah,
well, we should let Paulo get to bed.
Oh yeah.
Where's my balloons? Well, there we go. We'll be on Paulo's channel next week.
Yes. And taking advantage that I still have I can do this an hour earlier for this month.
Ah, there you go.
This is early for Paulo. This is his month of early shows.
Yeah, it isn't even 1 o'clock yet.
Wow. You've got the whole night ahead of you.
There you go.
I'll probably rewatch Top Secret. or did I already watch it?
All right.
All right. Well, have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Good talking comics with you, and we'll see you next time.
Here we go.